every evening he goes on a walk with his partner and his daughter. Pick one everyday routine. The engagement is priority. Welcome to the Dad Central Show, the podcast that helps overwhelmed dads conquer stress, build confidence, and become the father their family brags about. Join Drew Solon, a leadership coach and father of 5, and Ed Gow Jr., a fatherhood advocate and contributor to the Good Men Project, as we guide you through the journey of fatherhood. We'll show you how to connect deeply with your family, manage your time and energy better, and master tools to become the dad you want to be. Let's get started. Ever feel like summer flies by and you barely connect with your kids in a meaningful way? Let's flip that. Today we're diving into how you as a dad can use simple summer learning moments to build real connection with your child or your children. And why does this matter? Summer is a perfect time to be present and intentional. A few small actions can lead to long-lasting bonds and keep your child or children mentally engaged without formal lessons. You are listening and watching to the Dad Central Show, a parenting podcast to reduce stress and build confidence in fatherhood. And our show is sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. Dove Men Plus Care believes that care is the best of a man. When men care for themselves and others, there's a positive impact. And I am joined by my man who is nice and clean, Drew Solon. How we doing?
Doing good, Ed. Looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to summer. I'm looking forward to summer. All right. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be chatting about three areas. We're going to talk about shift the focus. It's not about the connection. We're also going to be talking about...
It is about the connection.
It is about the connection, not perfection. Sorry. Let me repeat that. Shift the focus. It's about the connection, not perfection. Correction. And then, yeah, I wouldn't be on this show if I didn't think it was part of the connection. Also, make learning fun and personal. And then finally, anchor the week with a dad and kid learning ritual. Drew, before we get into this, thoughts?
I can't say I'm as intentional in helping my kids learn like school related stuff through the summer, but I do think I look for teachable moments, especially around principles or values. And that's where I feel like I'm pretty good. I think, Kristen is probably a little better at focusing on maybe some of the core learning. But I don't know. I feel like if I were to default, I would default to principles, character, values for teachable moments.
Cool. Well, it's a good segue into our first topic, shift the focus. It's about connection, not perfection. I got it right this time. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I've always defaulted and pursued this idea of connection. So, I fully support that. The not perfection is, I think, really relevant. I have these perfectionist tendencies, and sometimes it would leach into how I'd interact with my kids, or leach into how I'd feel about if I made a mistake or if I wasn't doing things the way that I want to. So I agree with just this premise. But when it comes to this idea of, helping your kids learn, I feel like they learn better when they feel safe, when they feel loved, when they feel connected. So I feel like, number one, it does make sense. We should just work on being present, connected, and feeling in a good, positive relationship with our children. And guess what? The learning will take care of itself.
100%. When I share this point with you, I'd love to get your feedback that you don't have to be a teacher. You just have to be engaged. What are your thoughts on that?
100%. Right. And I think your teaching will come naturally based on where you as a dad are gifted or drawn to, or things that you like. Right. That's my thought.
100%. I agree. I think the engagement, and we believe this at Dad Central, the engagement is priority. Engagement, being there. Everything else is a bonus. Being there is the top of the mountain, and things will just lead on to that.
Yeah. Well, I think this point about curiosity is really relevant. So I envision this idea of being present means like looking at your child, paying attention to what they're doing, making that eye contact with them, smiling at them, and then rather than being like, oh, you got to do this way, you got to do that way, or you get curious. You ask these open-ended questions during play, or let's say you're reading a book to them. Hey, what did you think about that? Or where does this get you interested? So just asking open-ended questions, I think, is great. Great.
Yeah, and also in the way about just the engagement, and I've talked about this father in the past who lives around the corner from me, and I mentioned during the pandemic how he does HVAC, so he's out every day at 8 o'clock in the morning, doesn't come in until 4 or 5. And during the pandemic, I asked him, it was must be really tough not going out there. He says, "No, I taught my daughter to ride a motorbike," and the daughter wasn't that old, but now he's progressed. Every evening he goes on a walk with his partner and his daughter and their dog every evening. So it leads to that one action step, like pick one everyday routine. My neighbor walking the dog with his partner and their daughter every day, and they turn into a connection piece. And building on that, as Drew said, a curiosity moment. And maybe you want to ask during that moment, what's something new you've learned or wondered about today? Ask your child while you're having that quality time out with them, whether it's walking, sitting on the porch, it could even be breakfast time. Just make it intentional, make it regular. Before we move on, Drew, anything you want to add on to that?
I think those are all great, relevant points.
Excellent. Fantastic. Let's move to number 2. Make learning fun and personal. Because kids retain more when they have learning connects to their interests. Drew?
I mean, I think this is crucial to learn when we're young, or when the kids are young, I should say. This idea that kids retain more and they feel seen when the learning connects to their interests. I mean, you see it in all over the place. Like if somebody's interested in something, they usually light up, they get curious, they want to do it more, right? Like the specific toys that Eliana at 2 years old loves and is drawn to. Like it's beautiful watching her, but she becomes so engrossed and focused on it. The final point I'll make is this: is in my work as a career coach, we have this research from Harvard. It's over 22, 23 plus years. And interests are the best predictor of long-term career success. So at the end of the day, it makes sense. If you're interested, you're going to be drawn to it. And so help identify what your kids are interested in and just take steps to be able to immerse them in it, or do it with them, or watch them do it, find some way.
I'm going to add on to that, and I'm going to use Drew as the example about action steps. I know that Drew, for those who may not know, he's really into endurance stuff, endurance races, triathlons. And if I'm not mistaken, Drew, isn't one of your kids doing something you has done with you before? You're going to be doing an upcoming race competition?
Well, let's just be clear here. Endurance, not so much. Obstacle course races, and the Spartan race in particular, is more what Ed's talking about.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I just love the idea of being physical and being challenged physically and doing things that are outside of your comfort zone. And yeah, we first did this as a family. Me, my son Jordan, who was 7 at the time, and then Michaela, she was 10 at the time. We did the Spartan race back in 2022, I think. No, 2023, I should say. 2023. And then everyone got so excited. We're all signed up except for Kristen, obviously, who just had the baby. And of course, the baby's not signed up. So we're going to Tremblant on Father's Day weekend this year, and we're running the Spartan race. But maybe another example that goes with this is, my daughters are really into horseback riding, and I couldn't care less about horses, but they are fascinated by horses and they know all about it. And I'm there. I'm there all the time. I know the different horse breeds now. I know, like you describe, horse height based on hands, and all these things that I have no idea about before. But I never envisioned myself spending time in a barn and bridling a horse and all this other stuff, and what type of brush is used in what way. I'll stop now. The point is, I've found what they're interested in, and I've enjoyed or been with them in the process.
It just provides foundation about what you said and we said before about the connection. Find
Right.
those things those activities that your child or children enjoy, and use it as a connection base, a connection time. Like Drew don't like horses, but you do have connection time with your kids when they're doing it, don't you?
The final point is this is, I mean, I guess I've been around it enough and done enough. I thought, I was like, oh, well, they know that I support them. So I haven't been going as consistently. I noticed that it really affects them. They're like, Dad, you're not coming in to watch. Dad, you're not, how come you're not coming? Why? And hasn't been that long, but it, it just tells me how important it is to them.
100%. 100%. Thanks for sharing, Drew. Appreciate that. I know everyone who's watching or listening appreciates your insights as always. Before we move on, second action step, ask your child what they're curious about this summer, and then choose one weekly activity that turns out to be fun, and keep it light. 20 minutes is more than enough. Easy peasy. Let's move into our last point, talking about anchor the week with a dad and kid learning ritual. Drew, your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it was probably the last recording. We talked about this idea of consistency. And so the point we really want you to take away from this is consistency builds trust and connection. And it doesn't mean it has to be elaborate, or it just needs to be predictable. The kids know what to expect. I've told stories before about how I would do weekly one-on-one time with the kids. At one point, it was simply just a short walk with them around the block. And the block was pretty small, but with 4 kids, it kind of adds up over time. So the point is that was pretty consistent and they could expect it. We've got a great example, and a guy by the name of Justin Batt. He has something he calls Daddy Saturdays. He's been doing it for years and years and years with the kids, and where it's basically just an epic day where dad is with his kids. They do something fun, they do something that serves others, and they do something that I think, I forget what the other third point was, but it was consistent, or it still is consistent for them, Daddy Saturdays. And then he would do this thing on Wednesdays where he would do this walk with a sandbag down their long winding drive with the kids, and they would carry something heavy as well. And it was just a time for him to connect with his kids and ask them questions, but also share with them some principles as they were doing hard things. I mean, these are fantastic examples of consistency in terms of routine, and they don't take much at all. But I think it's really powerful. So whatever it is for you, Dad, and your kids, and they have an interest, is there a way that you can build something consistent? I mean, for me, bedtime is something that's pretty consistent, right? I have a short little sort of prayer that I say with my kids, and I'm always in their room at bedtime, and that's something that's consistent. They know to expect. Sometimes my son will say, Dad, you forgot to pray. I was like, oh yeah, sorry, Jordan. Okay. And then he'll hold me accountable to the routine, which I love.
Gotcha. I'll just add, one of the best examples of this, and I've mentioned in previous episodes, was doing a training with a group of dads. I think it's about 2 years ago now. I was asking them, do you spend consistent time with your kids daily? And one father said, yes, I do. And I said, okay. So I went in a little bit deeper, and I said, so when do you do that? Oh, 11 o'clock at night. I go, what? I'm going 11 o'clock at night. Says I do shift work, get home from the afternoon shift, and I take my son. I think his son's probably grown up a little bit now, but his son every evening at 11 o'clock would take his son out for a drive at 11 o'clock, and to the point where his son would stay up and wait for him and cry and scream if they didn't go out for their drive. And I said, you know what? I don't believe you. He said, he picked up his phone and showed me a video of it from the night before. So that time that is really dedicated, and they had a daily ritual. It wasn't weekly, daily ritual. So you know what? Whatever you can do, Dad, create that ritual for consistency. Start off with a weekly ritual, same day, same time, where you and your child learn or build something together, and call it something fun, something like Smart Saturdays with Dad, something like that. So as we wrap up today, we do a recap. Connection doesn't require perfection, just presence and curiosity. Tailor learning to your child's interests. And then finally, establish one consistent ritual for shared discovery. Drew, what's a call to action or something you can offer to our audience today?
I want to encourage dads to download or go to dadcentral.ca for our free email course. So it's got 3 lessons to help dads stay calm, lead well, and connect deeply. And so, we start with this idea of connection. And so in the course, you're going to discover proven strategies to reduce stress, lead your family with confidence, and build those stronger relationships starting from day 1 with that course.
That's fantastic. My final thought is fatherhood isn't about having all the answers. It's about showing up and asking the right questions. I love that. That is fantastic. Well, as always, I want to thank you for taking the most important thing, your time to listen or watch today. Always hang out at our website, dadcentral.ca. You can email us at podcast@dadcentral.ca. And also, you can listen to the podcast at dadcentral.ca/podcasts. As always, we like to say thank you for taking the most important thing that you have your time to spend with us. As always, don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and remember to give yourself grace. Take care and have a great day.